guys, welcome. I'm Carly from Carly's Creative Clay. Sorry I have had so many weeks off. I'm going through a very rough patch with my health at the moment. No need to worry, it's not the dreaded C word. It's just my chronic fatigue syndrome acting up. 'Tis the right time of the year. I don't think I've had a well Christmas in, 10 years now? No? What do you reckon, Jamie? It's been a while. At least I'm not in hospital this time. Woo! Not in hospital! I'm very happy. I mean, they're nice in hospital. You get a fancy meal. I got to admit, one time I was in hospital, they gave me a box of chocolates. It was a little one with 4 chocolates in. That was their big thing for people who were on ward on Christmas Day, except every one of the 4 chocolates were liqueurs, alcohol, and I'm pretty intolerant to alcohol, and I won't go into details about what I'm in there for, but yeah, just say bowel surgery and leave it at that. So I didn't want to annoy it with chocolates. I had to give my chocolates away. So yeah, it's not often I give an entire box of chocolates away, is it, Jamie? I'm a sharer. Food tastes better when you share it. But yeah, no, I was sad. But it's okay, Jamie. I think you went down to Marks and Spencer's and bought me my own chocolates that I could have. Because just gorgeous like that. Right. That's what I was going to say. We were doing a fawn. And I want to show you where we got up to with him. I'm not doing his head today for 2 reasons. Firstly, I want to do something Christmassy because it's Christmas in 2 days. And secondly, I'm still full of brain fog, not thinking straight, and faces are my hardest thing to do. But I'll show you where I got to, because I got bored whilst I was feeling sick and made some jewellery for him. So what I made, I thought if it's going to be a goat man, he'd be interested in goat heads. So I have made this goat head. Whoop. You can see side view round to the front. It's got a little red crystal in its beard. And I made an armband based on a Greek pattern because fawns are from Greek mythology, and I gave him a ring. And I've got these really nice little flat backed glass crystals that I inherited from a family member, and they just seem to be the perfect size to use for this. So when we're done with Christmas and I'm feeling a little bit better, hopefully, we'll get on and do this fawn's head, okay? But today I'm going to do a Santa Claus Christmas tree bauble. Now, how I'm getting started with this is with a tin foil ball covered in masking tape. Didn't do it on stream because foil scrunching, that is not a nice noise, especially amplified with a microphone. So get a whole load of foil, screw it up into a ball. The key for getting the really good round shape is actually using a glass chopping board and pushing the edges out like that. So you're pushing on it and it gets it quite smooth. Now the reason for the masking tape is because it's a semi-porous surface, it'll grip the clay better. Also, any little pointy bits of foil that you didn't smooth down properly has a real tendency of pushing through the clay, so you end up with a little metal point. Whereas pointy bits of masking tape, they never seem to come through the clay. I think it's because they're not so hard, like, you know, a metal point, but they never do. So that's where we're at right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is cover that ball in red clay. I've already conditioned the clay, which is basically rolling it out into sausages and bringing it back, so you're working in all the plasticizer. Now we're going to flatten this out, but not so thin as you can't work with it. You can use your pasta machine for this, but I often think, can I be bothered to clean my pasta machine? That's the main reason why I'm much more prone to pick up my rolling pin, because it's a far easier clean. But I get it, there are a lot of people very wedded to their pasta machine. Now, instead of pulling it off at this point, because it'd be quite stuck down, let's get the tissue blade out. Use your rigid one onto the glass and pull towards you. Blade always face away from you. It's so easy. If you've got it facing towards you and you do that with your arm, you're going to end up having to go to A&E. And at the moment, nobody wants to go to A&E. So take extra care with your blades. I mean, do so anyway. It's a good habit. But during the time of pandemic, don't add to the A&E people's problems. So yeah, right, I'm just getting this so that it's able to cover that ball. I really don't want to take it more thinner than what I got here, which I'd say is about 2 or 3 millimeters thick. So probably like that. Now, if you found that what you've cut off does not cover, just cut a bit more off your main bit of red and patch in the gap, because we're going to smooth out all the joins anyway. The important bit here is, as you saw, as I was adding the clay to the ball, I'm pushing the air out towards the opening so that there's no air pockets and the clay is firmly attached to that ball. And you've got to bear that in mind all the way around, that you're not trapping air, because firstly you end up with this really weird sort of sticky sound if you squeeze the ball, where the baked clay keeps bumping against the masking tape and it's not stable. And I mean, you can get away with it. Air bubbles with ceramics.
Hedgehog asks, what is the issue with air pocket?
Right, with polymer clay, it's different from the ceramics. If you've got an air bubble with ceramics and you put it in the kiln, it will explode. The air will expand and the ceramic can't take that movement. Polymer clay is always flexible, even when it's baked, so it doesn't explode when you bake it. What you do end up with, though, is you think you've got something that's that thick, so you think, I've got a nice big chunky bit there, that's going to be stable. If you've got an air pocket in it, what you've actually got is 2 little thin strips and a massive cavity. So instead of having this big solid area that can weight bear, you've actually got a couple of millimeters each side and air which moves. It's a breakage risk, basically. So when you get to this stage, that last little bit, you've got to be careful that you plug up that hole at the very last possible point, so that you're pushing all the air you can out. If you think you've trapped in the air, you can stab it with a pin tool, push the air out, and then just smooth it back over. So we're like this. There's a bit more clay on that bit than there is on that bit, but that's entirely fine. We're now just going to roll it out. And you will find, when you start to roll it out, if you've got any very big air pockets, the clay's going to slide off and tear, because the air stops it joining. It's almost like it's pulls the clay away from the ball. That makes sense. And you can't get a nice smooth ball. You can't roll it out like this and get rid of all the join lines. You can with little air pockets. But I can see there is an air pocket there. Can you see that bulge? Let's see. Yeah? See? So let's push the air. Make sure that if there's any nearby, it's all into one place. Like that. Then pin tool. Pierce through it. Then you're going to push round. Around that pinhole. From the outside of that air bubble up to the pinhole. You don't want to push on the pinhole, that would then close up the hole. So once the air is fully out like that, then you can push it down to get the last out and simply smooth it over. Yeah? So we've got our nice red ball base. Let's show you some Santas that we've got on offline to give you an idea of what we're going to be making, so you've got it in your head. Can I have the overlay? Right. So, I was thinking that one up in the top left, the ball type shape, do an abdomen like that. Then do arms and legs using a wire covered with clay to give it strength, and stick the head on top and then put the loop for it through the hat. Right, that's where I'm getting at with this. So what I'm going to do first of all is make the arms and legs. Right, we can take this down. So what I'm doing is getting some, whoops, sorry, knocking the camera there. Let's straighten that back up. Sorry guys. There, straightish. Right. Sorry. Right.
It's okay.
Hello. I can't see the name.
Louis, KYPRIA.
Hello Louis, welcome to my live stream. Right, now we're going to pick.
Don't you have to put wire in before any clay?
Nope, you can.
You used foil.
But we got the foil as the centre. The wire, you can poke it through the clay quite fine. Where I've made such a tight ball of foil, I'm having to use my pin tool to make a hole. So you can form a hole in it and just put the wire in at a later point. If I put the wire in before I smoothed out that ball, trying to roll that ball out would have been really difficult. So now let's go put that as a leg. So I want my leg to probably be about that length. Do that. Now the other thing, I haven't cut the wire before putting it in the hole because it's easier to put it in when you've got all that wire to hold on to. But the problem with that is making sure that the two legs are the same length. So if you're going to put it in as a shorter bit of wire, I recommend making a guide hole with a pin tool first. So easiest way to make sure you've got two bits of wire the same length is you put them next to each other like that, and you use the one you've cut as a guide for the one you're going to cut. So 2 leg wires. Now instead of just putting them in and then doing the arms, I'm going to do the legs and put the clay on them and then do the arms. So I reckon that angle looks about right. So like that. Make sure that they are the same height as each other. That looks about right to me. Yeah. So what we're going to do is 2 balls of red clay the same size as each other. You can get a little weighing scale out and actually weigh them and see whether they're the same size. And every time I do that, I find out that my eyeballing isn't entirely accurate. But this is good enough. It should be fine. Learning to roll 2 balls at once like this, it took me a few days to master it, and it saves so much time, because most things you do with clay starts out with a ball shape. So it's worth just taking a few days if you're going to be a clayer. Right, once they're smoothed out, that one's mostly, there we go. Right, now we're going to form these into little cylinders. So it's better to use the flat of your hand, and you can do that dual wielding like this, but doing so it's hard to keep an eye on it. If you over roll it, say like this one, I go, oh, that's a bit too long actually, I need it back a bit. Just get it, support the middle so it doesn't bend, and push on the ends, and can you see you're back into a smaller cylinder. So you tell the clay what you want, don't let it tell you what it thinks it should be doing. It's a very, very forgiving art form. Now I'm going to push those onto those leg wires. If you worry about getting it straight, you can put a ball on there, and then actually let's do that with the second one and show you what I mean. So 2 ways of doing this. Roll this into a ball and they come out looking the same. So either you can get your cylinder, be very, very careful and thread that up the middle. I find spinning the clay helps keep it centered. So like that, spinny, 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 as you're pushing down, and there you go. Push it on firmly. We're going to join it at the base in a minute. But if you're really worried about doing that, then the other option is this. Get your ball, put your ball on, and it's easier to get a ball centered because it's a shorter distance along. And then once it's on, then spin it around and push and form the cylinder with the wiring, spinning and squeezing. What you've got to make sure is you don't rock it too much, because that wire on the inside will be going and making a larger hole. So little movements, you can turn the whole piece instead of spinning the ball, spinning the leg. That's also fine, but do you see what I mean? They literally end up the same. So dealer's choice, it's down to your own confidence on getting a straight feed through your log. But can you see how that one is pushed down quite firmly against the clay, and that one's got that nice big lip there? Yeah, don't want that lip, because you want it to be joined on as much as you can. Now others disagree with this. I think do the shake test. Get your piece, give it a shake. If what you've put on falls off, then if you didn't do that and you baked it in that state, then it would have fallen off pretty quickly after baking. I'm just saying, you might want to it's easier to fix it on raw clay than it is to fix it on baked clay. Now, again, we're back to it's up to you what tool you use. We're going to smooth in those joins. I like the side of my pin tool to bring it down and just roll those joins in like that. Some people love rubber tip tools and use them in the same way, or a ball tool. Make sure you've got a ball that's just slightly bigger than the joint. So I think that one would do better for me, because otherwise you're pushing straight into that joint rather than sealing it. But personally, at least the first go around, just rolling it like this with a flat side of your needle tool helps get that joint laying properly all the way around like that, and then I come in with a ball tool and make that joint vanish. If you have a household where you think it's going to be really roughly handled, put a little bead of clay around it like this, bit of the same colour, roll it out very, very small, like so, and you ain't got to measure it, you can cut it in place. I measure very little. I'm numerically dyslexic, so if I can get away without measuring, I will get away without measuring. So little line like that around each of the legs, and then smooth that in, and you'll find that it strengthens the joint. See? So again, come in with your ball tool. If you haven't got a ball tool and you're new to claying and you want a tool immediately, you can make them with a cocktail stick and a bit of polymer clay like that. Just stick your clay, shape a ball on the top, bake it, you suddenly got a pin tool and a ball tool in one. Just saying. Right, pushing it into that gap like that. I mean, most people wouldn't be taking this step of joining it all in so well, but it's kind of disheartening to watch your creation break very quickly. And I find, especially in my household, my Christmas tree gets a lot of knocking around. So on Christmas Day, people getting presents out, they can knock a ball off easy. And we got 2 cats, which makes it even more plausible that this is going to hit the floor at some point. So I want anywhere that's going to be a weak point to stand up to that sort of treatment. Yeah? So it's worth the effort. Right. I'll smooth in a patch and then I'll do the rest off stream, so you haven't got to sit there watch me smoothing the whole legs. But there we are. Right, see, it vanishes off quite nicely. Yeah, I'll do the rest after. Now arms. It's a similar thing, except I'm not going to use the wire because I'm going to bring them round. Now, I'm actually going to do the arms after I've done the white jacket line and the belt, because I'm going to make him hold a present. So let's get this red off of my hands, because if you work red and then go to white, you're going to end up with pink clay. And that's fine, you can wash it down with isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol that is 70% or higher. If you're using isopropyl, water it down to a 70%. 70 to 80, that's the sweet spot. If you've got 100%, it just gets too melty, everything gets in a mess. So I advise not to do that. Right. Now, he had a little white cottony ruffed down the sides of his coats on a joining edge. So some show him as having buttons a bit like a snowman. I prefer that sort of bauble-esque type look. So what I'm going to do is make several little balls. I don't want them to be perfect. What I actually want to do with some of them is twist them and cause cracking and fold them on themselves. See? Like that. Twisting and folding. And we're going to, because they look more textured and cottony then, rather than a plain, straight, smooth ball. So, a few of those. And we'd make a line down the centre of those, that big red ball. Try and keep them roughly the same size. Let's see, how does that work? Right, make sure you've got it directly in front of you so you can see the lineage. And I'm going to start at the bottom and make a line going all the way up. Like that. That looks pretty straight to me. Then get my tissue blade and I'm going to divide those white balls. I'm going to have to get over the top of it so I can see them properly. Do a dividing line so it looks like the jacket being open. Well, being in two sections. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yeah. Right, okay. As long as I'm making sense, that's all that matters. Now, he's also got a black belt with a gold buckle. So, got some black. I'm going to roll that out into a long sausage wide enough to go around the middle of that ball. This, it does make a difference if it's uneven, so take some time to make sure it's all the same thickness all along. That looks about right to me. Now, make sure it's in the center, like that. I'm going to push it down, bring it round to there, like that, and then I'm going to cut it. I'm going to use a pair of scissors.
I think it's a bit high on the back, but you need to check. Oh no, maybe not.
Right, it looks... It's just the camera angle. Yep. And at that dividing line, I'm going to cut it there. Then bring it back round the other side, make sure it's level, like that, and cut it there. You can use your tissue blade, but I don't really want to risk smudging that black into the white too much. Once you've got it laying where you want, you're going to go around and push it down so that it sticks, making sure that you're doing even thickness of pushing down so that it doesn't make the belt look crooked. Okay, so going around, just pushing it into place like so. So we've got a belt. Let's move that black out of the way. Now, little gold buckle. What we're going to do with that is form a ball. Now, do we... Actually, that would be a better way of doing it. Form a ball. Get a tool, maybe actually a pin tool will probably be best. Put a hole through the centre of that disc. Then what you're going to do is you're going to roll with your thumb and the side of that pin tool to make that hole in the middle wider. So like that. Okay. Then we'll pull that out to the size we want the buckle. You're a bit thick actually. Let's give you a trim. Like so. Then pull this back out like that. There you go. And then you haven't got a join line on the circle if you do it that way. Stick that over the centre like that, and you can use your ball tool to position it how you want. Now I know that doesn't look like a buckle yet, but we're not done. We're going to get a bit more of that black blade away. After me telling you all so well that that is what you should never forget to do, it's exactly what I forget to do. So I made out a tiny little bit that's the same width as the rest of the belt. I'm just pushing it flat like that, and we're going to get that and tuck that. Use your ball tool to get it to lay to fit in that little hole you made, and bring it across like that. See? So let's show you side view. Looks like that. Now it looks like a belt, yeah? So let's get my gold out of the way. Let's get my black out of the way. Now, can I get a Santa picture up? Does he have a white poofy bit between his shoe and his trouser? Some have. That bottom one does. What do you reckon? Shall I do a white bit between the...
They have the white, but that's at the bottom of his coat, and yours doesn't.
No, at the bottom of his trouser. Can you see between the shoe? Down one. There.
Yeah, there.
Shall I give him little white floofy pads and then make a shoe?
You can do. Some of them just have boots. Some of them have a floof.
Right. So let's make the boots first. So let's get some black. Put him out of the way. And again, make sure you've got the same amount of clay for each shoe. Like so. Let's get that out of the way. Keep my colours separate. So we're going to make a couple of boots, because it'll be easier to put the ruff around after we put the boots on rather than before. So you got your ball. One side you're going to just twist a bit to make more of a stick, and then you're going to tap it so that it goes up like that. Then you can start to bring the sides into more of a shoe shape and shape the heel so that it's a bit more defined. There you go. Some little boots. And repeat that with the other one. You can put little heels on them, but I'm going to put a sole and a heel on in gold, but I'll do that in a minute. So let's get the blacks looking right. So turn it into a teardrop and then bend the thin part of the teardrop up and start to shape the rest of the shoe so that it looks like the first. Now I warn you, making the second of anything is harder than making the first one, because the first one you can just be fluky and take whatever looks right. The second one has to look the same as the first. But there we are, that's what I'm going with, 2 shoes like that. Now, so let's do a little sole and a heel in gold, I think. So what you're going to do first is make 2 little dots the size, same size as each other, and they're going to just be enough clay to take up the front bit of that shoe. I think this one's slightly longer. Let's do that. Yeah, that looks better. Right, now we're going to pinch that gold flat like this and turn it into a semicircle. You want 2 of those semicircles like so, and they're going to go under the toe section. So let's turn the shoe over like this. So they're going to go in flat side down, Carly, come on, like that. Just pinch it in to make it fit, push it down like so, like that. Same on the other one, up by the tip, flat side in, push it down, squeeze it along the sides to make it fit the same shape as the rest of the shoe. There. Now for some little heels, because why can't Santa have gold blinged shoes? Like that. 2 little heels. So you're going to roll out some balls, just push them slightly flat, or you can push them flat when you put them in place, dealer's choice, like so. So then now you've got a heel and a base, and they stand up because they're the same height. Okay, like that. That looks right. Okay, so shoes are done. So let's put them onto the feet. Make sure that they're facing forward like that, and like that. Now let's do a little white raft to help hold those shoes on. So clean my hands, because again I've been handling gold and black and I'm about to handle white. So what I'm going to do is I am going to roll out a stick that is roughly, definitely long enough to go around, probably a bit more. Fold it in half and twist that like that. Then that can go in around the shoe to help hold that on in place. See? Make sure you pushed it down, make sure it's attached to the shoe properly. Get that gold out of the way, and we're going to do another one for the next ankle. So twice as long as you want it, if you can get there. Fold it in half, twist it on itself like so, and you can make little balls like we did down the jacket. That's also an option, but this is quicker and another way of doing it, so I thought I'd show you technique. If it's a bit long like that, pull it off and squidge it into place. There we go. Right, we've got legs and shoes. So now let's get these arms done. The first thing I want to do is make the present that it's going to hold. So what I've got is 3 different shades of blue going on, and I'm going to twist them together like so. Roll that out because I want kind of an interesting wrapping paper rather than one solid colour. Fold it in half, twist it on itself. If it breaks up like that, that is absolutely fine. Just smudge and roll. Then we go like this. And bring that out back into a stick, so you've got a few different colours going on there. Twist it again. Make sure your twists go all the way to the end, or you'll have a bit of ununiform pattern. Like that. Fold in half. Twist those together until you can't fold it in half anymore. Roll that out into a bit of a ball. Now you can either use that liney design, or if you push it into a square, you get my favourite type of design, which anyone who watches this channel knows I do this all the time. Cut the outsides off like so. And then what you're going to do is those outsides, get the liney side, flip it so that the swirly pattern that's on the inside is the side that's facing outwards. Okay? And the tighter you swirl, the more obvious it is which side that is. Doesn't matter if they're in line, you can even put them over a corner where you forgot to cut some of the outside pattern off. Just make sure they're all back on. Then we're going to form that into a ball that's all smoothed out, and you've got this nice, can you focus? You see the swirly pattern?
I can see it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you...
Cool. Brilliant. So it looks more interesting. So we're going to form that into a parcel shape. Like so. I find you get very rounded corners unless you come along and pinch at them. And again, it's one of those things where I think it's worth the time and effort. Pinchy, pinchy, pinchy along each of the flat sides, and it looks less like a jelly bean. You can use a rolling pin for this, but I find it's just as easy to use your fingers. I'm just straightening it up, making it look a bit smarter, getting those edges nice and crisp on all the sides. Like that. Like that. There. Nice rectangle of swirly design. But I want to put a ribbon on it. So let's get some silver. And we're going to bring that out into a very long strand. One of these days I will play around with the effects range more. I know I stick to gold, silver and copper, and very rarely a few glittered ones, but I have to make sure that I've got enough of all the core clays that I need to work with. So instead of buying absolutely everything, I've narrowed down the range of what I'm going to use most. Now I'm trying to make this really thin because I don't want it to crowd out that parcel so that you can't see any of the design. Okay, so long and thin. And if you've got a section in the middle that's bigger, you just put your finger either side and roll and pull outwards, and that will shrink down that specific section, rather than making an area you've got at the right thickness carry on shrinking down. So that's enough to get started with. And what we're going to do is, let's break it off like so. Now, this is what you do with all parcels. You put the ribbon in the centre up the underside, like that. Bring this up, twist and go around. Let's make sure it's tight enough. There we go, like that. And then you flip it over, and the string comes up the side like that, like so, and this one up that side like that. Then you can do a little bow or make something to go on that join. So what I tend to do is I get the silver and I twist it on itself to make like a little spiral, like that. Then I come along with a pin tool and I do some little lines to divide that spiral into sections, so it looks more like, you know, the little paper ribbons you get from the card shop. Are they paper? You can get paper ones, they're also made out of plastic, big bags, stick-on ribbons. Like that. There we go. And put that right in the centre, like so, and make sure it's stuck down properly. There we are, parcel. Okay, so now when we make the arms, we can put that in the centre for him to hold. Let's get the silver out of the way. Got to remain clean and tidy. So, 2 red arms, roughly the same amount of clay as you've used for the legs. You can measure it out with the leg clay at the same time, but it's not critical. But if you're going to do one smaller than the other, the arms should be smaller than the legs. If that makes sense. But if you make them the same size, it don't really matter. They look about right. It trots along quite quickly, doesn't it? We're almost there with the body. Now, most of the decorations on my Christmas tree are things that I've made, because one of the very first things I did before I thought about opening up a shop, when I was very sick and bedridden, was make a range of Christmas tree decorations. And what I did was arrange that you wouldn't get in the shops. It was un-Christmassy animals doing Christmassy things. So I had a hippo with a red bauble in its mouth. I had a turkey with a Christmas pudding on its back. A swan with a Christmas pudding on its back. I had a lion holding a cooked turkey. A pangolin with some mince pies on its back. That sort of thing. And while I think I could probably make them all better now, because I'm 5 years since then, we still have them on our tree every year because it was the first group of stuff I ever made, and they are what got me hooked. I reckon there's a little bit more clay on that one than this one, so what I'm going to do is roll them out to the same thickness, then give it a cut down. Like so. That's more like it. Right, so got the red. I'm going to make all the components because I need to be assembling them all together rather than doing a bit of it and putting it to one side because it'll fall apart. Okay, so we've got the red. We need the 2 white twists for around the wrists, and we're going to make 2 little mitten type hands. Now, whilst I do the twist, I'm going to talk to you about how I got that shade of pink. It is not just magenta and white. If you do magenta and white, you get a very washed out, very pink shade. What you do if you want to get that pink skin tone shade is add orange. And I know that doesn't sound like the go-to thing to do. When I first heard it, I was like, what, really? There's no orange in my skin. And then I really looked at it, and it really does. So what you're mixing for a very pink tone is white, pink and orange. If you want that skin tone to have a suntan, what you're going to add into it also is a very small amount of brown and some gold. The gold mica actually does a wonderful thing for when you're trying to look tanned, and it gives that sort of sheened look. Here, I can show you, because the form that I'm working on is that mix. Can you see? And you get that nice sort of bronzed effect to it. That's because there's a bit of gold in there. If you're going for a more oriental type skin, you're going to need to also mix some yellow in. So really, it depends on the subject you're making, because there are a million different skin tones. So you're going to need to play around, and that's a good thing about polymer clay, is you can just keep mixing until you get there. I know this is too long, but I reckon this is going to do 2 arms. Yeah, I've got a bit of backup white in case I need it. Right, let's make some little mitten hands. Yeah, my first time doing a human sculpture, the skin tones were absolutely terrible. So learning that orange is involved made a big difference. They look almost right. There, that'll do it. Now, a mitten hand is so much easier than doing individual fingers, especially when you're down onto miniature work like this. Here we go. Right, 2 smooth balls. Double check they're roughly the same size. Right, anywhere on the ball, you're going to pinch out a bit of clay like that. So it's kind of teardrop. It's a very round with a very small pronounced stick. Then you're going to fold that up like that and start to bring out an arm shape, and then bring this into a mitten shape. See? Then you can start to bring down a wrist by twisting and pulling. Just that simple. Now, let's do it again. Anywhere on the ball, pull and roll, tiny little stick. Now, remember you're doing the opposite of that hand, so we're going like this and we're bending it up there. Bring your ball into a more mitten shape, pinch it down and put a wrist on it. There we are. Like that. Now once you've got them both, you can use either your pin tool, but what I prefer to use, where is it? Let me get my toolbox out here. My cup of favourites, but this one always ends up right down in the cup. This. It's a felting needle. And the thing about it is it's a lot thinner than a pin tool. And instead of it being rounded like a pin tool, it's actually a triangle shape. So you have 3 flat, sharp sides. So it's far easier to come in and do finer detail work with that. Now don't forget the fingers have a curve, so don't make them a straight line all starting at the same place, and bring that scored out line over the tip, curve around the top, okay? Whoop. Like that. See? Now, last thing I'll quickly show you on this. You don't want to draw with the tip of your tool like that. Can you see how jagged that edge is? You want to lay it on its side and pull sideways, and then it goes entirely smooth. You're not doing a tip, you're doing a sideways score. That's with any type of pin tool. Now, another rookie mistake I've made. Don't forget there are 4 fingers. I have done Simpson's hands before.
You mean not on purpose?
Not on purpose, no. This is part of the learning curve when you're not formally educated. You're just learning as you're going along. You make rookie mistakes that you probably wouldn't have done had you actually gone and got some proper lessons. But I learned from each piece, so that is fine. Right, we're ready to construct the arms now. So let's get our clay that we're not using, get it out the way, because there's nothing more demoralizing than almost finishing something, putting it down on what you think is some clean sideboard, only to find that there is a bit of clay there and it smudges in, and then you're there with your knife trying to unsmudge it. Not good. Right, get your guy, your little Santa, sit him in front of you like this, and what you're going to do is you're going to push the tip of those arms on in place so that they round over like that. Now where you want to hold it is there and there on the bottom. So that's my counter pressure point. Do not squidge up the belt, do not squidge up the front. And again for the other side, like that. Give enough room for a neck. Make sure that they line up with each other, and then smudge sideways on like that. See why we didn't use a wire? Now, I advise that you get your ball tool and just bring out that join line like so, or you can use your thumb. Just mind your belt and your design work that you've done. If you're worried, you can always bake it and then come back and add the arms afterwards. Then you're not risking squashing what you've already done. But can you see I've joined those on? That one's done, that one's not. Yeah? But I'm going to need to do that with both. I can't do that after, because when I add the head, it's going to mean that I can't actually reach to smooth this in. So give me 2 minutes just to smooth in the other arm. Hey, thank you for your patience and all that. I hope you got some good Christmas plans. I know this is not a normal year and it's all been not good. So do be kind to yourself. Treat yourself as much as you can treat yourself. I got some pick a mix. It's part of my childhood Christmases that I really remember and love the most. And we've been sitting there with £25 worth of pick a mix between 4 of us. And it's been amazing. It has. We'll have to sort it all out afterwards. Sort of dieting and all that. But there you have it. Whoops, I got a smudge point there. There we go. Right, we've got the arms on. So now let's put the hands on the wrists. And if you're worried about them not sticking well enough, you can put a little bit of wire between those two. Don't forget, hands up the right way and on the right way. You want the thumbs towards the top. Like so. Then we'll get our wire in around that wrist. Like so. And the reason why I've not done the fingers on the underside is because it's going to hold a parcel, so that it will be completely invisible, so why bother with the extra work? Again, that was something I used to do a lot when I got started, was spend ages on something and then realise it's going to be covered. And nobody's going to see it. I still do it. I still put in all the muscles when I make a really good human, only to find that it's got clothing on. Right, so we're now at that stage. I'm going to put the parcel in the front, put an elbow bend in that arm like that, and the same on the other side. Get a little bend going, get the parcel, put it in between, and get Santa to hold it. Bend the fingers over like that. Now I want to sort out those elbows a bit more, crisp them up a bit. There we go. That looks more like reality. You know, I said about making sure you don't smudge clay into your work because you haven't cleaned the side off. Well, yeah, that. Luckily it was a tiny bit, but it just demonstrates the problem you can cause yourself that you don't need the extra work for. So just pinching out some elbows like that. There we go. So we now got a Santa who is holding a parcel. So all we got to do now is the head and the hat and the hair and the beard, and we are ready to bake him and stick him on a Christmas tree. Now, because Santa's got a whole lot of beard and hair going on, you haven't got to do a lot of facial detail, which is one of the joyful things So, bit of wiring on the neck, right, to hold the head on. So like so. And give that a cut. There we go. And I can put this wire right out of the way. Now, out of that pink, I want a bit for a nose. Then, let's see, head size. That's going to be too big. Let's take a bit more off that. Yeah. The best way of getting proportions right is literally just to hold it up against what you're making and eyeball it. So I got blade side away from you, Carly. I told you I was still not right today, didn't I? Well, there you go. You can see it now. Right. A ball of a head. Make sure it's all smoothed out. There's no join lines. Now, that is going onto that spike. Like so. I'm not bothering with the neck. It's all going to be covered up by beard anyway. I'm going to just put that little nose in the middle. So I'm doing him quite a big nose since it's one of the few bits that are prominent. So you're making a teardrop like that. Form a bridge. And pinch it into a kind of nose shape. So like that. See? And stick that in the centre.
Flammable Zebra says, "Hi Carly, hope you're well."
Hi Flammable Zebra, it's lovely to see you. I was talking... Yeah. I was just saying the other day how I've missed seeing your username. It always makes me smile. So, we've got a nose on there now. What I'm going to then do is some cartoon eyes. So, 2 little white dots. And you don't want them too big, that'll do. Make sure they're the same size. Like that. I hope you have a good Christmas. I know it's a bit of a tough one this year, isn't it? I've got so much baking to do tomorrow. I've got a lot of pastry and I plan to make the ultimate sausage roll, which is a massive Frankfurter hot dog. So picture this, puff pastry, then cheese, then onion that's been caramelized, then ketchup, then a hot dog, and you wrap it all around into a sausage roll and then bake it. That is my plan for one thing, and then I'm gonna make apple turnovers, chocolate little. I've got a lot of puff pastry. I'm doing it with rhubarb, apple, chocolate, and I'm gonna make them look exactly the same so that we won't know which one we're eating when we're eating it. So, food roulette. And I'm going to do a caramel onion and mozzarella type sausage roll. Now, I can see already that white is not white. I must have had pink on my hands. So, where's my rubbing alcohol? Just going to give that a quick clean down on the eyeballs. Because they look like they're very bloodshot at the moment. Where I had a tiny bit of pink on my hand still. So let's pick him up, bring him up, so you can see.
You can't really see the pink on the camera.
You can't really see it on the camera. Okay, well in real life there is pink on it, but a bit of rubbing alcohol just wipes the whole lot off. So, 2 little white dots, then tiny little black pupil. You can either do it in the centre of the eye or pick a direction that it's looking. But one of the rookie mistakes I've made before is doing boss-eyed pupils, which, yeah, not great. You can use a pin tool to divide up very small bits of clay far easier than trying to use your hand to break them. So, if you can see, tiny little pupils, and for my guy, I'm going to put them down towards the bottom like that. Now, because they look really shocked when you leave them like that, I advise a top eyelid. Bottom eyelid, not so necessary. But if you don't have a top eyelid, you're going to have a shocked face. It's an option. What you're going to do, tiny bit of clay, you're going to push it into a flat disc, then you're going to use your thumb along one side of the round ball and use your fingers on the other side to pull that down to make that little sort of semicircle, almost leaf type triangle shape. See? And then that goes over.
Mabel Zebra says, that sounds awesome. I'm making scotcheroos for Christmas. It's a chocolate dessert from my region of the US. Very yummy. Hope you have a great Christmas as well.
Oh, I'm going to have to Google that.
Scotcheroo.
That sounds so nice. I wish we had pumpkin spice and pumpkin pie. I've never had pumpkin pie before because you just can't get any of the tinned pumpkin or the spices. There's so much in the UK that you can't get in America, but same vice versa. Oh lordy, they look amazing. So when do I come over? They look great. My twin sister went all out this year and made her first fruit cake. Can you see? Now he's got eyelids on the top. He does not look so shocked. Yeah? Right. Again, some of the little fiddly faffy bits are not worth the effort and others are exceptionally worth it. Right. Kitchen roll. I knew that fruitcake took many months, but hey, that sounded like a mission to me. But she did it. It looked amazing, and her kids and her husband really enjoyed it. So what I'm doing is now going to make a beard sort of shape. So I've got a nice sort of loop. Then I'm going to pinch some of it into 2 prongs so it looks kind of like a bib. Hold it against, and already I can see it's going to be too long for the space. So let's take some of the clay off and you can shrink it right down. See? If you don't get it right first time, it's easy just to go again. Still, let's take some off the bottom this time. There we go. That might do it. You want it to fit under the nose. I have vastly overestimated how much beard this guy has got room for. That's gonna be more like it, isn't it? Yeah, like that. So bring it round, push it down. You want to go up the face like that. Okay, like so. Then you put a little moustache over the top. So 2 little bits of white. You form long sort of teardrops and you flick the end like that. Same on the other side. Round, pointed end, flick it, and then stick that under his nose. Whoop. Make sure that they mirror each other because, you know, moustache. There we are. Right. Can you... It's not so easy to see on this camera, but can you see it?
I think it's visible. I think you've not got the
In
right angle on the screen. Sorry, Hedgehog says, "Oh crumbs, he's looking good. He's looking good."
Then we're going to do some hair. So what we're going to do is first off do a very short sort of bowl cut going on. Don't forget we've got a hat to put in place. So you're going to go around the sides like that. Yeah? I would get some with a big amount of pink line straight through it. So let's turn it round. Sorry, there we go. So a large semicircle pushed around the head like that. We can put ears in. If you want to put ears in, you're welcome to. But I'm going to put a hat on anyway. So let's get this hat going. Get the white out of the way. Get my dude out of the way. We need some red. Big chunk of red for a big chunk of hat. And again into a ball. Now, you can use an eyelet as the method of securing your ribbon, or you can use some florist wire that you've wrapped around a paintbrush. I'll show you that in a minute. Or you can just put a hole through the hat. So dealer's choice when you've got a teardrop. Also, if you've got a bit of stainage and you can't be asked to clean it, I know one side has got to go against the head. Engineer it so that white dot is on the side that's going to not be shown. Just saying, it's easier. You're going to pull it into a very long teardrop. Like so. Pinch and pull. Like that. Then the top end you're going to push flat. Like this. Use your thumb to bring it right down into a thin point at the base. You can also come around and pinch like that. Okay? Then that goes on the head like that. I know he looks like a gnome at the moment, but when you bring it over like so. So then let's get that white swirl that I've got left over from the arms. Put that around, whoop, like that, around the hat. I'm bending his feet. Pay attention to what you're doing with the rest of your dude so you don't mess up his feet whilst you're focusing on his hat. It's a possibility. So there we go. And then this last bit, swirl into a little ball to put on the tip of the hat, push it against the side so that it actually holds. Yeah? Now, he is awesome. Well, I hope you like him, Fairy Hedgehog. He's going to end up on our tree at some wind. Now, I might actually put a hole through his hat and make that how I'm going to string him.
For a hedgehog, so is he freestanding then?
Technically he is, but I'm going to put a hole through his hat there so that we can string him and put him on the tree. Okay? Whoop, like that. Make the hole nice and big. Smooth it out where I've got a crack. Like that. So we can then put him on the tree once he's done. Okay? So that's your Santa. I'm going to sort this heel out where I have smudged it a bit and smooth out around those leg joints. But I hope this is useful to you. And Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have a really wonderful day on Friday. And I should be back with you next Wednesday, hopefully. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a really good time. Like, share and all that sort of stuff. Okay, bye.